let's get into it. Apart from Finca. She's gone once again. Not on the board. Removed and taken out of play. And it's so curious because we've seen her find a place in the meta over the past 5-6 months of like Siege comp. And you didn't always have a band. You didn't really have... I mean, I'd have to go back and have a look at the ban rates from Yavle and the Sweden Major. Mexico, I think she was still sort of coming into her own at that point. I don't think she had the biggest presence here. But here, the ban rate for Finca is probably one of the highest, if not the highest, it's ever been for a competition.
It's funny because it used to be that useless operator, say, when it would mess with your recoil, and everybody's like, you don't want to have that. Like, it just messes everything up. But now it's an LMG, low recoil, gone 6, grenades, healing capabilities. And it just hits so well on LAN. And that is the reason why I assume most of these teams are either playing or banning it in this current meta. Elevate not wanting to play against the LMG, that limits it to basically only the Zofia being able to bring it, which is already one operator less that you have to worry about pre-firing around the corner.
Warm-up map done. Yeah, you better hope it's done,
Grind. You better hope, because they did say before, if you're just joining in,
no bueno.
No bueno.
Not good.
No, Elevate want to lock this off. But what they did say, Rogue, beforehand is, hey, can we just make this a scrim instead of an elimination bracket? Because of the... All right. The chat is descending.
Other chocolates are available.
Into other chocolates that are available.
Yes.
Oh, that is going to be a big fight that will arise after this match, I think.
Winner takes all the buenos.
Winner takes all the buenos.
I mean, buenos is for winners.
That's it. And Elevate so far have the first map, so they were granted some buenos by the tournament organizer. You see?
Okay, we're going to start down in Judge. Elevate, they're opening up on their defenses. Rogue opted to lead in on their attacks here on Elevate's map. And we've often had this conversation about Club is where it sits and for how long it's sat there and for the frequency it has existed in every tier of competition. Every sort of angle of competition has had a lot of Club. When you have to pick it as your preference, you better bring an NIP level game at this sort of tournament because...
Or Empire level. You know, they're also pretty good at it.
Yeah, like you need to have that top tier. You need to have that difference maker because everybody, in my books, at this tournament has at least a good club. I'm not going to say it's a great club. I'm not going to say it's like a top tier winning club, but a good club. And not everybody has that on every single map. And it's sort of this factor that plays into the pick ban phase.
Now, they're using a castle and they're using a bit of a roaming strategy up on that top floor, but it's not quite like what we've seen before. I think one of those walls, the wall you just saw, has been castled off, but has been opened up already. And then Nagiri here wants to keep the pool or the billiards door open. Doesn't want to lock that one off. Still has a castle barricade left, however, so might still decide to close that up just a little bit later. But he is on his own, deployed to keep track and keep a hold of this first floor area. Is that 4? Yeah, where's that 4th one located? That one gets shot out.
That just got shot out. DCH is going for the trick and the trap there, but the hatch still gets popped open with the handful that was on there, just enough to cement it being destroyed. Leon is already quite deep inside dirt as well. What the Eon is waiting for here is the potential of someone to go a bit wide. If he can go unchecked here with a grenade and either bounce it to the backside of DCH or see if anyone's behind the AKs, he might be able to do some damage, but Nay is actually the one who opens it up. Dropped on that, the cross hatch just outside that tunnel on kitchen corridor. They're making sure that they have that swing potential, that lock-in here. They've sort of said, well, we've got the mid-territory, and Rogue decided to try and drive themselves just to kitchen in the site itself and play around and against all of that pressure that was otherwise put on, but Elevate's not really truly handing it over to them. They're making sure that they say, well, we're still swinging on you, depending on how aware you are, and there's these pre-fire angles coming out. Elevate's under a bout of pressure. There's a prep C4 towards Dirt that Not's going to get the full connection there. It sprays of Leon and DCH, locking down Cry, and Cry's grenade gets him post-mortem, postpartum, and he's parted himself with this round. A low crouch behind that third box. Continual pings and pressure is bouncing back either way. Huge rotates going over to that kitchen side. Rogue is batting on the doors, battering on the hatches, just trying to find something here, but the scrappiness is continuing all the way through the round.
Now, the only thing Rogue has been attempting to achieve here is to push in from the kitchen side. Players in dirt, players in the kitchen, no one even attempted to take bar control. The hatch has been opened up the entire time already, and I believe one of the castle barricades did get shot out in the end there, but as long as Rogue continue to try and put themselves on a pressure here at the hatch, they're not really going to be able to get real far. So Leon gets his told to go for a rotate. A Sepper picks up Aces. Prano with that diffuser inside dirt. If he gets spotted by the players at the AKs, which he does, it is Nate that drops it, and it's Onigiri that ends it up. A pretty good and solid round coming out here from the side of Elevate. Read perfectly into the strategy of Rogue, which to some extent questionable, as there was no pressure elsewhere on the map. It was just coming down from dirt and from the kitchen hatch, which just allowed the members of Elevate to pick up these long angles, shut you down if you even try and go for a drop.
I think the idea from Rogue there was, well, they're doing a tall hold. They obviously have the top. They obviously got the castles in the midst as well. They want to try and potentially fall Jim down to the bar, down to the side itself, and waste a lot of time. And you can cut that off at the pass. You can drive yourself down dirt and go for something a little bit more punchy. But it needs more presence, and it needs to be a little bit less telegraphed, because as soon as the presence sort of came in kitchen, we could already see, as I said, DCH and Nay, they were swinging around from the bar side, and Billiards, they were swinging around from that corridor down towards the chain link fence on the far side. There wasn't anyone on blue as well, which meant that Leon was a little bit stuck, because he can't just swing in and take that fight and that engagement, because if he gets one, sure, you might be able to get the guy behind the third box. You might be able to get the guy towards the default underneath kitchen if you wanted to, but that's two very big different directions to take a swing fight on, and chances are, as soon as the first falls, the second is going to drop you without a body on blue to try and act as that counter.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, if everybody pushes from one direction, you're not going to be able to cover multiple angles, really, in that matter. And Elevate, they read that perfectly. They didn't overextend themselves. They didn't throw themselves into that kitchen. They were like, okay, if you stay in the kitchen, you can have that, but don't drop through that hatch, because then we get mad. That's when we will open fire on you. And well, Elevate able to pick up that first round as well. It's DCH that takes a small amount of damage. I think that would have been through the window as they tried to rotate past, or even barricade it off. No, he hasn't got any left, so that should not be the case. Either way, pressure instantly coming down from the ground floor here. Leon opening up that main door, trying to eye into the bar side. Doesn't see anybody out there just yet, and wants to get a drone in position.
Well, there's an early fight. Napier tried to get out of there and succeeded with a spray onto the face of Cryan. They lose their sledge. They lose that drive, and with Castle still open, it means Sabana's going to have to do a little bit more of a stretch with that utility than they previously wanted to. You can hear the breaches coming through above as well. They're going for the vertical take that you need to have on this bar stage setting, but again, without that sledge, look at all that soft destruction that's potentially going to be needed either in logistics to force that kitchen player into a more uncomfortable situation. Once again, Rogue tried to go fast. They tried to punish the hold of Elevate at the pass, but Elevate, they just had that scrappiness to carry themselves out.
What is weird as well is that Nate actually went for a bit of a run out on the freezer there, got spotted, took some damage as Yokai Drone there is escaping with its life, trying to reposition it again in a bit of a different position. It was Cryan that went for the jump, and even though they knew he was in there, you could literally wait or get a grenade and then pick up the kill like that. But as soon as you went for that jump, and you're stuck in that awkward animation, and that allowed, of course, Nate to pick up that kill, pick up the advantage again for the side of Elevate, as some pieces of utility are being taken care of, but also spots are coming back. And I believe that the hatch is still closed in construction, but they can open up any given moment.
Now, there's only really the single player that's just on the jukebox, hopped up and hoping that they can be the sweet music that knocks Rogue back out off the stage. Leon, with the pre-fire under the player, downs them. The pings are continual. A couple more bullets lock it off. DCH is caught out in the closed soft hatch. And that was a big potential blow, but 50 seconds, and they still have to try and find some semblance of safety to pull themselves up towards that brick wall just behind that big solid black box and make sure they can plant with the cover against kitchen, and that will mean the fight onto Billiards has to go into their favor. The spray comes round, they slip themselves past, but there's Nerix on the jukebox with one. He gets knocked down. Leon is able to get the retake, and now they're going to see if they can stick it. Rips with one more on the backside. It's Leon and Onigiri as the only player left. The double from above drops the diffuser. 20 seconds. Suddenly impossible's a little bit plausible. But the single player on the Billiards side doesn't have the read. There's one, and there's a drop though. Rips picks himself off the kit and gets the round.
Good push there in the end. Onigiri was able to shut down two. He knew that one was upstairs still, couldn't live long there. So he had to rotate out, but he had no clue, no information. I'm not quite sure if the yokais had been taken out, because that would have been crucial to know whether or not someone was running towards you. And now, gym, bedroom, Rogue will live through bar. And pick up a round win here, a crucial one at that.
We almost had our first plant in the series.
We almost did.
And it made me realize throughout the first map, I don't think we even saw anyone attempt a plant.
I think we've seen a attempt. I think in the kitchen. I'm going to check. Kitchen. I'm not quite sure, actually. I don't know.
I don't remember seeing the yellow of the tick down. It was almost the first either way, regardless of whether it was the first attempt. And Elevate, you know, they've been knocked, they've suffered one. They weren't flawless on their previous map, and they had a little bit of a back and forth here, and they're going to see if they can try and head upstairs towards the gym side and hope that that offers them a little bit more before they'll likely go back down to church where they had that opening success. Rogue, as I said, at the beginning they tried to read a play and lost Crying because of it. They tried to just punch into kitchen and saw how Elevate like to have that stretch player. They like to have that width. The shield was in that position as well for that swing to offer them a little bit more, and it went away from them. It suffered them in the end.
It definitely did. They tried to play passive there. I mean, they wanted to use one on top of that hatch, but a drone that was pre-placed by the side of Rogue was able to pick up that crucial kill to DCH. Mind you, if they didn't have that under control, that would have been an extra player. That would have been extra pressure coming down. As a mirror window suddenly gets deployed out here on the wall, then but the wall is getting opened up straight away. That now provides a bit of an awkward opening from either side, because you're not really going to be able to put up an exothermic anymore, but it is a small hole you can watch through and try and stop these rotations from. And the Scryan is already pushing up onto the garage rafters here. He's going to try and up that pressure truly onto the Nerex and DCH side of things.
That's it. Obviously, that one solid wall means you can't get the swing round on the rotation if they try and just burn their way out of cash and go through logistics and construction. He doesn't have that angle onto the door that you'll often see utilized if this was the site itself. But they still have a lot left to burn through. And he's likely going to be able to get himself a rotate here. Makes it so he can crouch through and not just hop and go for a little bit of damage and danger. DCH on the door, though. Ready to go for the reverse swing, waiting for Cryan to pop his head around the corner, who obviously does have the capabilities of trying to long on some grenades. Look at Nay underneath, though. They're in lounge. They've got a C4 prepped, and it's a little bit early to the party here, and well, that means Cryan's able to survive a bit longer.
Be able to live for now. Grenades are being tossed into the back of the red stairs there, but Nerex going to take damage. The ADS is still smoking after it managed to pick up that grenade just in time. Flashbangs are coming through. Grenades are being tossed in. The ADS just charged back up, but the shot of Crying is not being caught off by that one, and that will be the opening kill here for Rogue. Still a player left, though, inside Cash, but he will be pushed from two different angles. Claymores or flashbangs are about to be tossed in, yet once again, DCH needs to go big, but he is not able to pick up rips and will be picked up as well.
Suffered a huge blow of damage there, but the Thatch is still on the board, and they've been able to crack open what they need to so far. One more charge in pocket, but with the full control now of logistics and construction, they're able to start setting themselves up these longer angles so they can make it a little bit more of a comfortable control without the risk of Elevate swinging around and getting a couple of bites back. With the body on logistics hatch, that offers a little bit more safety onto the door, and here it'll start to come as a bit of a bounce pressure around towards that Goyo shield, likely next. 40 seconds. And they'll start dabbling with the idea of going outside. The second C4 just sort of Hail Married without any true result right now. Elevate, they're not entirely sure how to rebuff this push, and as it starts to stack itself up here, there's a smoke on the door. Ace is able to get that body, that fight, and that attempt of Nay swinging around from the logistics side, and Zappa's locked in with a shotgun, burnt by the Goyo shield, and the players on the back once again. Onigiri is all that's left. The cold diffuser, though, and he gets a huge take onto Iana. He just has to sort of drop out of there. He's waiting for the fight to come down on Brick. The blinds go. He pushes in and holds that trigger down all the way around the corner. They finally find it, but only just, Rogue.
I don't know how to manage to, how he manages to survive so long, completely blind, walking up against the wall. Thought he might have been able to chase him around the corner, but no, not really. Did everything he could there. He knew that he had to stay up in case that the plant did go down in the end, which, of course, the yellow had started, but didn't quite last, and Rogue find themselves a second round. And for the first time, I believe, in this series, yes, indeed, they'll find themselves in the lead of a map.
I mean, they said they'd warmed up on the first map, and
that's what they said.
You know, they wanted to lead in on their attacks here. They wanted to put the distance in, and, you know, club, as I said, everybody's got a good club, and attack has a good preference, especially with Thatcher on the board as well. With these bans, you're looking at generally the attackers having a lot of options, a lot of swing. I think that early round when they tried to instantly break something down, it didn't go away from them. And they've sort of tried it on the second, they pulled it back. They had this moment where they went, well, let's play our takes. And since then, their takes, they've been able to lock in that solidity. And we go back down to Church. We go to the place where they lost that first round. And I'm expecting to see a different take.
We're also seeing a different hold coming down, though, from the side of Elevate. The bar hatch, the one into the motorcycle, has been reinforced this time around. We do not see the castle to set up extra kind of holds. That is because, of course, Elevate is aware that they've shown this before and are expecting Rogue to bring somewhat of a counter to the board, or at least try and take some more of that, well, middle floor control. And as a result, Elevate is playing this completely different. We see 4 on the site right now. 1 is off on the road, and we see who that is. We have Nerex, Nay, Sapper, and Onigiri on site. So that leaves DCH, who literally just comes back through blue to play with the turtle strategy as well. But first puts out some barbed wire to slow down any quick push to come in from blue.
Classic Club. Classic Club was getting on the ground floor and hold them off on the angles. And, you know, it sort of still works. It still sort of has that vitalized energy about it where you can play it with some of the solidity that other sites don't quite offer. You have that culpability of the other players too, because there's very often a situation where if they've got a drop, it's a funnel. If they've got to try and find their way in, it's either around Moto Hatch with a quick drop onto Kitchen Hatch, or it's down through one of the 2 sort of isolated staircases on the opposite side. It turns into this conversation of if we can lock off one of those, if we can take this as a 2 versus 1 fight on blue, for example, then suddenly we can put our backs to a side, and at that point, you can sort of direct your focus.
Yeah, we can for sure. 2 minutes on that clock. Rogue have taken that first floor under control and started opening up vertically with both the Caber, which of course the big prize of the 6th Invitational, and the exothermic charge that Prano has set out. They have opened up stock/blue hatch, and now we'll be opening up the motorcycle and kitchen as well, just to ensure that they have multiple ways in this time. Something they lacked the previous round. They attacked here, and now try and make up for it. You have to be careful, though, to not just drop through. Onigiri takes a lot of damage and will be picked up by Ribs. That's the first kill. That's the entry in favor of Rogue.
There it is, and it's a statistic that hasn't always been entirely locked in with the confidence of them getting it all the time and being able to build behind a round off the back of it was probably the bigger cost there. And they had this consistency of suffering and then still striking back. The shotgun takes out the shoes and the feet and tries to track a player that is long since had their crying. 1 HP and boots full of buckshot, but he keeps on running, and it's going to be a painful few steps. He's got to be cautious now, especially with a smoke canister on the board. It just takes a single whiff right now, and he'll find himself knocked out of the round and down to the ground. At least held on, though. Napier, he's underneath, and they've kept the hatch solid. And that's a big part right now, because you're looking at 30 seconds, and you're looking at Rogue entirely having to try and force themselves through. As I talked about, it's the drop onto Moto. They're looking it up. They have the 2 bodies on the opposite side of blue. Elevate just have to focus themselves towards one of these firefights, and maybe they can bring back the body balance into their favor. There it is. DCH, a 4 versus 4. Might not know about the second player that's likely to swing round, but there will be calls and intel. But with only 10 seconds, it's got to go now. Leon, he's looking for the fight and almost has gifted DCH the drop of Rips. Gets the opener onto Moto, but it's Nerex and Cryan and DCH all over the board, locking it off. Rips with the slow creep through, no diffuser, and 2 more bodies. And Church stays twice in the hands of Elevate.
Yeah, and here we then see Elevate being quite professional with their Church holds, able to starve Rogue from any time that they might have had available to them. But the bar and the gym, both those sites were quite easily taken by Rogue. And that makes you wonder, like, is it just this Church that Rogue struggles to attack with? Or is it the holds that is what Elevate is struggling with at this moment in time? Because they will swap it up to CCTV. They're not again going for the bar straight away, even though they did get quite close, mind you. It wasn't just basically DCH who got shot through the hatch. That was quite of a deficit there if they would have waited just a little bit longer until the actual push went through, then open up the hatch and put up the pressure. Suddenly, it comes down from multiple different directions. Also, a different mistake that was in that setup, of course, was that the wall towards the kitchen wasn't open. That is something we often see. The kitchen presence is absolute, like, god tier, you can almost say, for that stage plant. Either way, 2-on-2, and a different site is attempted. Elevate will bring us to CCTV Cache, and we keep on mentioning this. Everybody who's ever played Siege should know, because there is some people in ranked that do not know, but you know, how to attack this site. Step 1, you open up the balcony. Step 2, you get the garage and rafters control, and you can go for a plant either behind the service stack or right around the corner where Ney is now thinking about putting down the bender wires. That's also quite a safe spot. Often doesn't get smoked or C4'd out, but you need to be a bit more careful for the red presence.
It's been back and forth right now, and it's the first time we get a true taste of CC. There's still utility being set up. Obviously, those gates will stop a little bit more coming through, but a little bit might be the difference. They're playing against it with double electricity, though, and that is the big blow, because when you're playing against the Thatcher, I mean, we've seen bandit tricks happen even yesterday against a team with a Thatcher, and is Rogue going to be the ones that are able to at least outpace this play?
Oh, the grenade from low.
Oh, they play it so well. And there's a demonstration of how you can really see that lineup and go, well, this is our response. The hatch is gone. Ney's gone too. And that is how you stop a bandit trick.
That's it, right? The new bandit is there. There's no EMPing against it. Yes, you can toss one in, but it's more so for the Electroclaw, potentially. As they now will toss another EMP to get rid of the garage wall electricity. Next guys will pop off. But as you said, the grenade perfectly timed there. Made sure that, of course, the bandit that was bandit tricking was not going to be successful. And that is when you need the launch presence.
DCH is looking out Billiard's window to see if he can spot any of the players in the car park, but Aces had a call on that, and he just pulled himself to safety behind the white van. The Habana steadying their way across the width of the hold here. The next step is garage, and they're going to see if they can get that body out of rafters. Onigiri has been a little bit of a danger with that gun so far, but he's often had a frequency of being the last player left, and now he's going to be the next they have to get rid of. So, with that in his belt, with the rest of the backup, he might be able to have a little bit more safety. It's a slink and a sliver through, and the first is locked off the board, caught out. Cryan's grenade on the top, it's a spray back, but he is found by Leon on a long range. Brano locks it in, and with a minute left, they've now got that garage control and another body. DCH on the attempt roam back round underneath.
Yeah, I was in the oil pit, got spotted through those little rafters areas there, and that leaves it only up to Nerix and Sapper now in a 2v4 clutch situation. Rogue should have this under control here. They should have the opportunity to go for the plant, but you can never really count them out. And with 40 seconds left, time is slowly starting to dwindle. The camera will be giving away quite some information to the remaining players of Elevate, but there's nothing really they can do. They need to wait for a jump in. They need to wait for a push to come in, and Asprano will be using next to Thermic on the wall. He buys another couple of seconds here. But Nerix still has a mirror window, still has a C4 available to him, and that one might be used now.
Well, the other one isn't going to be used. Nerix is able to get one, gets dropped, and I mean, there it was from Rogue. A stellar and by the book take over CC. There's a reason we haven't seen it too much from defenders. It probably has, over this tournament alone, one of the worst success rates for the defense across it, because it's just well known. And are they going to see if they can double it down? Nope, actually. But I get this. And that was an important take there, the instant response from the player. If Onigiri hadn't gone too wide to the side, and sure, you're living for a limited amount of time, but if he'd have been able to waste an extra 20 seconds, not get caught by the rappel player, he might have been able to survive, might have been able to just do that little bit extra with his life, maybe even got into another scrap before potential inevitable removal.
Now CCTV, let's just only count the maps that are defense-sided, because there is 3 maps that are attack-sided over the 6 Invitational.
Okay.
As a 47% win rate. It's actually not that bad currently.
Oh, I meant on club. Is it the worst for club?
It is the worst for club, yeah.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean across. How many stats do you think I know?
Well, I'm sorry.
I can't compare it with everything.
I just want to say. You know,
what's the worst site across every single map?
That's Living Library. That is 9% win rate. It's been 11
times it's been played.
Yeah.
Living Library.
Yeah.
I would have guessed that, actually. that it would be the least seen and the least successful.
It's not the least seen, actually.
Oh, what's the least seen?
I think that's Teller's Archives with 8 rounds on bank.
I think NA played Teller's Archives on bank.
Yeah, I think that's just NA.
They sort of still utilize it. Nobody else.
Might be. But we have changed up the side here. We're not going back to CCTV. We're going up towards the gym. And that will be a round where quite early on the CCTV control was gifted to Rogue. As they took the red stairs under control, they took CCTV under control, and well, after that they just continued to punch through Elevate, tried to skirmish back. Like we said, they do so well, but unfortunately we're not able to put quite a punch or dent into Rogue themselves. As DCH is being droned out, in the meantime the mirror window already has been punched on this wall, and the exothermic has been placed as well. Nothing really they can do. Klein pushing up on the Raptors as well, and as Prano continues to open up, there's no way out anymore for DCH and Nerix.
Well, Prano hasn't quite got a kill yet, and hasn't quite been able to get a plant down as well with Rogue's successful round wins. DCH trying to be a door here, and as we said, the last time this take came together, it was a little bit of just plucky hope that Elevate were utilizing with their utility. Thrown C4s underneath the push here. They tried to swing it onto the doors. They weren't quite as aware of how Rogue were playing, and it sort of had this idea of when they were attacking against Rogue on Cafe. Here, DCH, he's sort of swinging, pre-firing, trying to offer something back, so they don't quite have the clean entrance that they had before, but with this opened up, there it is, a big fight. Onigiri takes a huge amount of damage, and DCH is eyeing up the possibility of a swing, but they've actually rotated off, and Aces takes Nerix, takes the top of red, and they're going to pull themselves back. Leon wasn't quite watching the right angle on Logi Hatch there to get the pickup on the rotation round, but now it is CCTV and construction in their favor.
Tight angle being held by Prano. Aces as well. They're not quite sure whether or not the area is safe yet. Now they definitely do. Opening up into the construction side. The default cam or bulletproof cam is what is holding them back right now. They're afraid that someone could still be inside of the logistics area. So they'll use a grenade to get rid of it rather than to shoot it. And that is, of course, due to the fact that all the way from the gym, you could be seen if you peek through that door, if you try and find the angle on that bulletproof camera. So you don't want to risk it. Not when you have a man advantage here. With Onigiri quite low as well, and Sapper, who's taking a hit. Rogue are definitely in the driver's seat, but they have to be careful because the flank is underway. Ace is well aware, however. He's holding it, waiting for the push to come through.
And a second player, they're prepped up there, ready for the hop over. If they need to, they can try and double down on this and let the other players go for the pressure onto the site, but as long as they're here, they're not there, and there's the reveal. He pulls back, and they know that he's going to go for a rotate. They're not going to sit and wait for a re-swing and a refire. They have the intel in only 20 seconds. Cryan just looked past the body. It was a free pickup, and is in fact lost them almost in a trade. Aces goes down. Prano with an important batter cover. Onigiri starts to pop off, drops down, and tries to get a lock-in with the Elder springing and pre-firing, but sprung out and washed up. 3-2-1, but Nay somehow with the secondary shotgun is able to get one. They're going to go for the stick. The cover isn't quite there, and Elevate just pull an even half.
This was a moment where Rogue could have gone for an actual plant here, but at the moment that the cover died, Prano decided to get off and hopefully take the gunfight, but then the timer hit 0, and there was nothing he could do anymore. 3-on-3, even half, and Elevate. Well, they might not be super happy with the result in the end, but it is still somewhat decent. Of course, looking at the stats that we just pulled up, overall Clubhouse 56% win rate, so it is still within margin.
3-2-3, Elevate. 4 rounds separate you from continuing on the lower bracket. Rogue, unfortunately, it's a sadder tale. 4 separate you from dropping out, but also from you continuing this fight, taking it to the 3rd map of Oregon and continuing a potential run across the lower bracket, eliminating more hopes for the APAC region. Not to put all the threat of eliminating APAC on your shoulders.
No, of course not. I mean, Damwon Kia is still in as well.
Damwon Kia is still in.
It dropped to the lower bracket.
It did.
Sonics played absolutely perfectly yesterday against them.
You have a great...
Or let's say Kansan with his clutches.
Kansan's clutch, play of the year.
It could definitely well be.
If you haven't seen it after this game in the break, between whether it's between the analyst desk or between the next map, go and watch Kansan's clutch.
Yeah.
On bank, inside the cafeteria, inside open area, and be like, yeah, that's player of the year. Because that's the response you'll have.
Now, Parker did say, name something that could be better. There's one thing I could imagine.
What?
Map 5, 6 invitationals, like round 30, the deciding factor in a 1v5 clutch. That would be...
Okay, but I think that's a different...
We're talking realistically here.
We're talking this tournament, I thought, and this year.
No, I'm just saying, maybe in the future sometime. But
okay,
yeah,
maybe.
For sure.
To the top. To the top, we will find ourselves, and now Elevate. And what they did on their attacks on Cafe was drive a lot of the momentum. They kept them guessing. They kept Rogue on their toes, and that was a lot of the work done by a Jackal, which is back in the pockets of Nerix. Here, as I said, with the Thatcher on the board, getting this open shouldn't be too much of a drama or a hassle. They're still going to be cautious about it. They tried a band trick, and a lot of people have.
Rush. They might rush. I mean, there is a serial laser gate. Rips is on-site the Raptors right now. That is going to be a big worry. And as they put up that shield, now they're waiting to go for the final call. What are they waiting for? DCH is not with them. He's on the roof. He's on the other side. He's going to be putting up some pressure, I would assume. And at the moment he starts to enter and he puts up some pressure towards the construction side, I hope that is when the push comes in.
That's it. They want to see if he can pick up this single kill. If he can get Cryin, but Cryin in the meantime has pulled his way back in. There's the Thatch, there's the break, there's the breach, and they're not going to go for it. Nay didn't feel confident. Nay just went down to the exothermic.
He did. He opened up on himself there. It's very unfortunate. They tried to go quick, and unfortunately they failed, but they still have an opportunity to go through. We have one to push in. It's an Agiri that needed to pick up the kill on the player. He gets the down instead. A lot of damage is being done by the smoke canister, as Leon Gitz finds that one. It is only up to Sapper now, and a failed rush is going to be handing Rogue their first defensive round.
So you know we were talking about the play of the year?
Yeah, this is not it.
This is not it.
It got close. In a different category.
Yeah, I think that was a... that might make a...
display of the year.
Yeah, it might make a highlight reel of the tournament, but I don't think for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
might be a Jaeger himself video or anything like that. Either way, 3-on-3 will turn into a 4-on-3 very soon. The timer will just run out. You know, hand is off the keyboard or the mouse at this moment in time for Sapper as well. He's just waiting, just holding.
They're just letting Rips die.
Yeah, letting Rips slowly. Prado just came over, and then Agiri's going to be allowed a kill, but it's going to be pretty impactless here. And Sapper just stays repelled up on the balcony. Might use this as a bit of a timeout, or as a bit of not tilt, but. Just let Rogue be irritated a little bit that it takes so long before they can get into it. You know, 3 minutes without any action, or 2 minutes in this case, is quite a long time without action in Siege.
I think that's it. It would have been a time to have a conversation. They're just getting themselves queued in. They know it was a disconnect in terms of their play because, well, one of them was downed by their own exothermic. And those moments, that lack of coordination, as you said, they knew what they were waiting for. And it didn't quite hit the mark. It didn't quite get there. Quite obviously, Rogue, they've been able to pull themselves back in the lead. They take their first defense. They take CC, and they have a few different options, but Church is where they're going to head to next.
Now, Church is actually one of those sites. Why do I need 5 fingers to put it back? Okay, there we go. I'm just having struggles with my tech, by the way. I'm getting upset about it. But as we said, CSTV might be the worst side, is the worst side on the Clubhouse here. Church actually the best for the defense. A 63% winning for the defensive side, which means that it will be quite a difficult one here for Elevate. There's little teams that manage to attack this with a prestige that is hard to counter, with a perfect setup to come through. And I think NIP was one of them, where they went through the triple wall. Everything just worked perfectly. All the EMPs fell in the right place and everything like that. Is one of those teams that, just like Empire, know how to attack these sides. Either way, as the reinforcements do come through yet once again, it is going to be a Rogue that doesn't seem to be very on site, at least not for now. That might still change. We might still see some of them to fall back in a little bit here, or we will see a bit of a roaming setup to come through from Rogue, or a roaming strategy. Seems to be the case. I'm not quite sure.
Well, they've got themselves stacked up on the top there, dropped, and it's a very early take there. They're able to get rid of that approach there. They get rid of that defender. It could have been an absolutely monumental blow to lose your Thermite that early. And this time, the Thermite's been able to do a little bit more. Another spray comes out, and were you just checking about the sound?
Yeah, I was checking about sound as well, which I don't have at this very moment, but it's totally fine.
I don't know if the stream does, and I don't know whether we should make sounds or not.
I heard from the observer they could only hear my chair squeaking.
Okay.
So we might have to make the sounds ourselves here. I'm not quite sure.
There's a skeleton key popping up.
Skeleton key?
Yeah, it got a little bit of damage there. Nay has obviously suffered as well on this approach, but you're looking at two big bodies gone, Cryant and Aces. They're both off the board. They're just going to deploy themselves some, and as those bullets go over the bow of that stair set, they're going to pre-fire, and Rips takes the head off of Nerix, and well, they're just going to see if they can try and at least to hold on to that. The Habana's gone. That makes that approach much more tricky.
It definitely does.
There we go.
As the sound does come back, we just missed a couple of it, but the E1D...
Whoa!
This is like 5 E.
That's too much sound.
That's too much coming through. Either way, it's ELV that is going in on the back of 5 EEDs, EE1Ds, all at the very same time.
Now there's a pulsing beat. We're in the rhythm section now, and
no clue what's going on, but I'm loving it for now. It's a 4-on-3. ELV, they need to push through. They lost one of their hard breaches, which makes it so much more difficult, as you said before. But as they start opening up, at least they force away the pressure that was coming through from the main stairs area itself. I don't know what's going on, but...
We're in an echo world now, and Rips, he's going to see if he can try and deploy some just confidence down on the back of Blue here and make sure that if anyone gets caught out, they're going to get caught out. But Leon, actually, from bottom to top, is able to take the take down up, and we are balanced back. No more echoes, and well, the only one that might actually be a repetition there is Leon getting a kill, but Noah Prano has a different story to go to the end of that noise. Onigiri is removed, 40 seconds, and it's a 3 versus 2, and although Elevate were able to get those opening 2 bodies, they just could not work out how to get the solidity to just lock themselves in around that approach. They couldn't build upon the back of the success that they had. They didn't have that durability, that sort of firmness in their structure. And at this point, smoked out on the door of Moto, nowhere else to really go. Nay, with barely any health, can't take any of that, and he's going to have to go for a very long rotate by the looks of it. They want to try and apply some pressure onto Blue. They wanted to see if they can just do something to draw some attention. A great take there. Sapper on a quick movement. There's a man on the right with, well, it's Rips with 1. They don't even really need to go for the second.
Pistol swing comes in, but the round will be won by Rogue. And they're now getting quite close to pushing themselves towards a map themselves as well. 2 rounds is what they need. 2 rounds is what they will aim for to push themselves over towards Oregon. Map number 3. They're starting to get close here. Well played by them. They lost a double entry. But after that, it was Elevate that struggled to get to the side. Just basically 1v1s being gifted all over the map, which allowed Rogue to get back into it. And as a tactical timeout seems to be called, could also be technical. Either of the two.
It's the time.
I just see the screen. I don't know whose it is. A still chill step in the tactical timeout.
Little
lo-fi,
vibes.
Lo-fi, right?
Lo-fi vibes. The lo-fi siege vibes.
For sure. And let's see what the setup of Rogue will look like. We see a mirror window that is being deployed on the construction wall. That will make it a bit more, or at least I assume it will be deployed there. It's not quite yet. Probably one will be in the bathroom as well to try and hold off. Maybe Prano will actually keep one in pocket to try and figure out where the push is coming from, then relocate the mirror windows as necessary. Of course, this one is quite default. If you lose control of Jacuzzi wall, which is almost always going to happen, you need to have something to challenge it. And that mirror window is the perfect way to do it. And there's the second one coming down on the construction wall, as I called it before, just to hold off any push that eventually does come through from CCTV cache, because that is normally how this map works. You open the Jacuzzi balcony, you open up the CCTV, you start pushing it from CCTV cache into construction, and then you hit it from 2 sides at one time. But those mirror windows, those 2 are there to be an extra line of defense, and with the lack of a Hibana right now on the side of Elevate, they'll have to make do with the Selmas instead. And that is a Nitro from below that will pick up DCH.
We just saw him throw it as well. The timing could not have been more precise there. And the fact that you even got the hammer audio of the connect, it would have been as if he hit that C4 and it popped off the same split second. We just saw the rip tear, and well, one of those sort of chuck up and see if it connects C4s has come through, but this time it's not into the favor of Elevate, who tried that so many times before. they'll lose their sledge. They'll lose a couple of frag grenades, and the only couple that they brought with them on this adventure and excursion. Now they've just got to see if they can try and stick it with the rest of the fight across the top of the board. The breach comes in on the far side of CC. They pick themselves over and move towards Jacuzzi as well to make sure those two inevitabilities are done.
There's no one in the bathroom currently. Prana's holding a very long angle all the way from the back of the A side. So a drone could be so valuable information there. He's of course playing in this current position, so if they would try and go for a quick plant inside the gym, he is there and instantly able to lock it out. Because it seems exactly like they want what they want to do. They still have one Selma left, and I expect that one to be used on the actual mirror window. You can see right there, opening will be made, and we'll open that one up as I think, yes, there we have it. So that is now going to be a big opening that is no longer safe to play for defenders.
Well, they've actually just taken a second and re-barricaded that window, but Nerix catches crying, and there's another player that's stepping in for the next fight, and it looks like they had to ping intel on that Maestro. They're still leaning into it, and it's the drone. There it is, caught by a Maestro, and well, he's putting his beret a little bit close to the fire there, and he's just going to pull back because they don't want to throw the advantage with 40 seconds remaining. The swing comes, though, and Onigiri, still present, takes care of Leon and is able to just get a little bit more into their pocket. Rips down to the top, is ready to rock and roll, and if this hot hop comes through, whether it's an old intel on the hatch or not, they seem to not entirely want to try and trust it.
Yeah, so Prana rotated out. He's no longer playing on the actual A side itself. It's Sapper that is looking to go for a bit of a jump in here. And after that smoke, he tried to maybe, well, guide Rips or try and see if he could distract him a little bit. But Ace is now from the highway window on CCTV. He's going to be able to pick up the kill and drop that diffuser. They now need to pick it up, but there is going to be the ELV from below that rips them apart. And that is Rogue now on the map point here. After it seemed like it could be going well, it was Aces that won the gunfight onto the balcony, and after that had free control, free reign of the entirety of highway there. And Rogue put themselves up to 6-3.
Rogue, they've proven the point that I raised, which is if you go to club, you gotta have beyond a good club. And Elevate here, they're suffering. Rogue obviously said themselves they warmed up between the first map and the second, and that is true. They are winning more of their engagements. They're finding more of those connections with the faces of the Elevate players when they pop up around all the various corners. And here, Elevate, they're not quite able to have that confidence on their attacks, let alone their defenses, that they had on Cafe. They're not quite able to have the entire write down because at this point, they're not bringing that creative difference and style that has otherwise been one of their sort of flags that they've waved continually throughout these groups, continually throughout this tournament itself. And, you know, you look through, obviously they had a great club performance against BDS, but it was battle back and it was BDS at that point. It was the one that was almost the deciding factor in the showdown against the Sonics yesterday, but at the same time, it's still a risk to keep bringing it, especially when you've seen it played by Rogue against, obviously, I think it was Cyclops in groups, another APAC team, and they were able to take it. They know confidently how to play against aggressive teams on club.
Yeah, for sure. They were being quite effective here. CCTV again decides to go back to last time a failed rush on the side of Elevate. That became an issue. Let's see if they try and slow it down just a little bit more here. That Electric Claw is going to pick up that Exothermic. Yeah, there you have it. That is one of them gone, and Sapper also realizes that he heard that zap to come through and now knows that the opening is no longer there. Aces played that well. He knew that they opened that first last time around, not with the EMP to guide it, and that means that they are quite stuck in this situation here.
Things have just connected the second. Gets taken there, and the claw just connects at the right moment. Both those walls are locked, and there are still Selmas. But he's able to pick those, re-pocket the two claws. Aces is doing everything to rebuff Elevate, and again, they just cannot find that route through. Look at the position of Aces. He's waiting to hear where they might get dropped. And with Selmas, it's even easier because you might not get the first, but
you get the second.
You'll turn it into not a rotate, and that's that worry.
Going for a complete rotate now here on the side of Elevate. You saw Nerix, he was debating whether or not to toss it on there, but in the end he did not. Was afraid that he might have lost it out there as well. So it seems like this will be a construction take. There is still a wall out there. You still have 2 EMPs left, so you should be able to at least guarantee a full opening out there as the first one gets tossed in, followed up by Selmas, and they need to throw a second one just to be sure, because there is going to be another extra electrical that gets placed. There it is. I'm not quite sure. Did they waste any Selmas? It seems to be the case.
2. He's only got 1 left in pocket at this point, and they sort of just mad dashed it, and there it is. Nade just swings on, takes the fight, gets dropped. That breach, though, it will only remain a single. Sounds like at least one's popped, so maybe he swung around and got the claw as well in his moment of madness, but with a minute on, and with all the hard breach that they can possibly do done at this point, they just have to see if they can try and stick a landing, but it's so awkward because what have you taken away from Rogue? Really nothing. It's still a locked CC. They still have Garage. You've got to try and just drive your way into a firefight, but none of it is awkward angles, or none of it is easy angles. It's all just uncomfortable, and Aces is stacked up behind the server waiting for the player to go a little bit wide. Rips obviously has a bit of a split push. You hear smokes and you hear possibilities coming as a pop. There's one. DCH gets a drop, gets on a Giri back to his feet, but it's a spray through, and it's Rips hopped over the top, gets that connection, gets that locked in. They're inside the site, but they're entirely surrounded. 10 seconds, and Sapper, well, he's all that's left to put the bodies on the floor, and the diffuser too. There's a reveal of a camera, I believe, on the wall behind him as well. Rogue take Club.
They take Club with a 7-3 fashion, the same way how Elevate was able to take Cafe Dostoyevsky. Again, not a single plant that we saw from either of these two teams, but we are headed towards the map 3, and suddenly this turns into a best-of-1 scenario.